to the outside. Washington off the mark, and it's over. It's March. Expect the
Oral Roberts' run to the Sweet 16 was one of the highlights of the tournament, which started off with their upset over 2-seed Ohio State in the first round. Only 4.8% of people picked Oral Roberts to win, but behind 30 points from Kevin Obanor and 29 points from the nation's leading scorer, Max Abmas, Oral Roberts was able to advance to the next round, but most importantly, earn that blue check on Twitter. In this video, we will focus on Oral Roberts' pick and pop, how Ohio State adjusted their coverage to protect EJ Liddell, and Oral Roberts' counters to those adjustments. Lastly, we will discuss why Ohio State chose not to go small and take their bigs out of the game, despite the problems they faced defensively. Oral Roberts' first pick and pop comes in transition with a cross match. Ohio State chooses to switch, and Abmas pulls up on the rescreen, showing why his nickname is Midcourt Max. With both coaches trying out different actions to start the game, Oral Roberts didn't get to a pick and pop in the half court until around the 14:30 mark. Again, Ohio State switches automatically, but Abmas blows right by Liddell. The Golden Eagles go right back to it, and it's another blow-by for Abmas against the switch, who draws the foul this time. 2 blow-bys later, Ohio State adjusts their coverage. Key subs in for Liddell and traps Abmas. Washington sort of does his job and stunts at Obanor as Key recovers, but Obanor is a 45% three-point shooter, and a short stunt with hands down isn't going to prevent him from taking that shot. On the very next possession, Sewing rotates fully on the trap this time, but the next rotation doesn't get there, and it's an open corner 3 instead. On the third trap, Ohio State's second rotation gets there, but the closeout is poor and they give up a dunk in the ensuing scramble. At this point, it's 3 good looks for the Golden Eagles out of 3 traps, and the Buckeyes adjust again. Going away from the trap, Key shows and waits for Walker to recover, but is forced to switch when Walker dies on the screen. After his initial drive is cut off, Abmas just chills on the wing, which we won't see again for the rest of the game. With Liddell back in, he also shows until Sewing gets back in front, and they force Abmas into a contested floater, avoiding both the switch or the trap. With Walker dying on another screen, Liddell has to hold his show for longer, forcing OSU into full rotation, but that actually forces a turnover. Now it's 3 good stops in a row for the Buckeyes. Oral Roberts' turn to adjust. This time, Obanor goes to screen, getting out as quick as possible. This causes some indecision from Liddell, and Abmas gets downhill for a wide open floater. On the next go screen, Liddell holds his show for longer, but Washington is not ready to rotate, and Ohio State gets lucky with the miss. 2 go screens later, Ohio State switches at the end of the half, resulting in yet another blow-by and a foul ensuing. The beginning of the second half was more of the same. While Ohio State was successful in getting the ball out of Abmas' hands, Oral Roberts still got good shots, whether it's for Obanor or for another teammate after some cutting and ball movement. However, excluding Obanor and Abmas, the entire Oral Roberts team shot 1 for 13 from 3, which helps to explain why Ohio State stayed in the game. About halfway through the second half, Chris Holtmann and his staff finally got tired of watching CJ Walker get destroyed by Obanor's screens and decided to switch Sewing onto Abmas for good. They go back to switching the pick and pops, and Abmas understands this is his game to win. Unlike the first half, when he just stood around with Key after he gave up the ball, he knows he has to attack the switch and create for his teammates. Liddell actually has some solid possessions here, containing this Abmas drive before denying the pass back to him. And here forcing Abmas into a bad shot. But he was still getting dusted, enough so that Ohio State decided to mix things up again. The Buckeyes adjust by switching Liddell off of Obanor, which allows them to switch the pick and pop without creating a huge mismatch. However, miscommunication occurs on this first possession, and Abmas gets downhill for a bucket. It's unclear here what causes the mix-up. It could have been Obanor's screening angle, which is flat and gives Abmas the option to attack both ways, or maybe Jallo was expecting Obanor to ghost screen, seeing as he's got both hands on him, ready to stay attached. Oral Roberts tries the Abmas Obanor pick and pop, and Jallo does well to contain the drive, but Sewing hand checks Obanor on the closeout. bringing us to the under 4 media timeout. Coming out of the stoppage, Oral Roberts chooses to space Obanor out in favor of keeping Liddell involved in the pick and pops. Abmas forces deep gap help on this first possession and gets Weaver a good look from 3. On the next possession, Liddell sits deeper on the switch and gets away with one when Abmas calls his own number from the logo and misses. On Liddell hunting part 3, Liddell actually does a good job sliding with the drive before ultimately getting the stop. Down 4 with 2 minutes left, Oral Roberts forces a turnover and gets Liddell on Obanor in a cross match. They flow right into a pick and pop, and even though they don't force the switch, Obanor draws the foul on Liddell on a strong drive to the rim before knocking down both free throws. Oral Roberts gets the ball back with about 30 seconds left as Liddell misses the front end of a 1-on-1. No cross match this time, but Abmas calls Obanor over for another pick and pop. However, Sewing and Jallow switch both the first screen and the rescreen before containing Abmas on the drive. The possession stalls out before Obanor gets it in the post against Jallow, and it's a big call as Obanor gets sent to the line again and knocks down 2 more clutch free throws to tie up the game, scoring the only 4 points between both teams in the final 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Maybe because Obanor had the last 4 points, or perhaps because they don't like Abmas going 1-on-1 against Sewing or Jallow, the Golden Eagles start overtime with yet another pick and pop, but choose to reverse the ball into an Obanor post-up after Ohio State switches. Ohio State switches the handoff as well, leaving Washington on Obanor in the post on an island, and Obanor spins and seals for the layup. Oral Roberts comes right back to the same thing, and Jallow wisely chooses not to switch off this time. You might think Ohio State is safe here after preventing another Obanor post touch and stalling out the play, but Obanor still manages to take advantage of the switch by getting inside position for this offensive rebound before putting it up for an and one, giving Oral Roberts the momentum it needed to close out Ohio State in overtime. So why did Ohio State keep playing Liddell? Despite his defensive struggles, the All-Big Ten first-team player kept Ohio State in the game offensively. The Buckeyes knew they had an advantage in the post and attacked it from the off, getting it to Liddell on the very first play. Oral Roberts did not hesitate to double, and this is where Liddell's teammates really let him down. With Walker and Jallow playing 38 and 32 minutes respectively, the Golden Eagles exposed their lack of shooting. I mean, just look at how far under the Oral Roberts players are when Walker comes off any screen. So even though Ohio State was sent a cutter on post doubles and scored off of it a couple of times, more often than not, the paint was too crowded for Liddell to make a play. Or his only kickout was to a 27% 3-point shooter. It doesn't help either when Washington, the team's leading scorer, goes 4 for 4 for 11 points in the first 5 minutes of the game, but then goes ice cold and shoots 3 for 17 for the remaining 40 minutes. While Liddell ended the game with a monster stat line of 23 points and 14 rebounds on 10 of 15 shooting, it's even more impressive when you consider the attention he received from the Oral Roberts defense. At the end of the day though, his dominance in the post was not able to overcome his deficiencies on the defensive end. It's almost cliche at this point, but it's still worth pointing out how influential good spacing can be. As I was watching this game, the adjustments we've discussed obviously stood out to me, but the contrast between Abmas and Walker definitely did too. Both are undersized point guards, but one with the ability to shoot as soon as he crosses half court, forcing defenses to go over on screens set at the logo, while the other is seeing his defender go under screens at the elbow, and leaving his big man to play 4-on-5 when he gets it in the post. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you were able to take away something from this video. If you haven't already, leave a like and subscribe, and drop your suggestions down below of what I should break down next. See you next time.